Hello, everyone. My name is LaShonda Lewis, and I am the Communications and Media Specialist here at the Chaplaincy Institute. And today I am sitting with Tom Rockwell, who will be the instructor of our Science and Spirit course happening soon. Today, we're going to be discussing all about the course, what you can expect to learn from the course, who may be interested in this course, and when this course will be happening. So, with no further delay, I'd like to introduce Tom Rockwell. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Oh,
All right, so we're going to roll right into it. My first question is, what is Science and Spirit about? What can someone who will be taking this course with you expect to learn?
sure. Yeah, great question. Um, a little bit about myself. I mean, I've certainly been interested in both science and spirituality for a long time, and they've sort of been like sometimes two halves of my brain. And I
Mm,
feel like in our culture in general, there's sometimes like two halves of our culture.
mhm,
And so what you could say is that this course in many ways is about trying to join those two halves of our collective psyche. The first day is really about inquiry.
mhm,
It's about sort of reawakening where I personally think science comes from, which is a sense of curiosity, natural curiosity, and wanting to just kind of, in some ways, fall in love with the world again, fall in love with phenomena that you observe, watch them very carefully, pay attention,
mhm,
and start asking questions about those. And I think that's what underlies any activity of inquiry, whether it's scientific inquiry or whether it's spiritual inquiry. And so the goal of that first day is to kind of reawaken that sense of curiosity, not science as something you learn in school where there are a bunch of facts and you're right or you're wrong and you pass the test or you fail the test, you're not good enough. So
mhm,
all of that stuff that's gotten layered on for a lot of people, it is to take that away. And whether you're somebody who actually is trained in science or whether you're somebody who feels like, oh, science isn't for me, that first day is kind of about just reawakening that natural sense of curiosity and exploring it and understanding how it applies and what are some of the barriers that our culture puts in the way of sort of asking simple questions,
mhm,
not just of the natural world, but also of our own internal world.
mm,
So that's day one. Day
mhm,
two is actually engaging with the story of science. There is a big story. There are, you could say, elders in science who through their own inquiries may have
mhm,
found out some durable observations. And so how do we engage with that story in a new way? Again, with curiosity, with openness, without feeling like we're right or we're wrong, and sort of how do we find our personal entryways into that story? And that story, you could argue, starts with the Big Bang, goes through the evolution of our planet and of life, and takes us to this very crucial moment in humanity and the planet's history right now. So that's the second day. And then the third day is really about that joining, that weaving together of science and spirit,
mm,
and asking ourselves, what is it that we as individuals, but also some of the people that we might minister to or educate or inspire, whatever word one wants to use, what is it that people are looking for at this time? Like what are the different combinations of either sort of faith traditions plus science, or atheist beliefs plus science? There are all these different permutations of how people feel about their position, both in the spiritual world and
mhm.
also the position in the world that science has helped us see. So it's really those 3 days: inquiry day one, story day two, and integration on day three.
Wow, that is a awesome in-depth description. Thank you for giving that for our audience today. So, with that in-depth description, you've kind of already answered my next question, but what is the type of person that would be interested in a course like this?
Yeah. Well, um, I've taught it once before, and I noticed that there were different types of sensibilities and different types of personal histories with science. So there
Mm,
were some people who I think were very curious about science and had a relationship to science, often through a family member, but it was a little bit of a distant relationship. So
mhm,
curious about science, but also feeling a little bit distant from it, and wanting to maybe reopen that relationship in a new way. without having to take a formal class. And
Right.
and the one thing I'll say about formal classes is, you study one little tiny thing. and so the goal of this class is to, stand way back and take a much bigger view at the vista. So that's one category. The other category were people who actually had formal training in science, but were also very interested in the world of spirituality, and were looking to and already in their lives were finding ways to kind of blend those, or maybe hadn't found ways to blend those and were curious about it. So I would say, any formal background in science is not at all a prerequisite at all. In fact, it's very, very interesting if you feel like, oh, science isn't for me, I don't like science. That's a very interesting posture to bring into the class, because really so many people in our culture have that feeling. So many people feel alienated from the story and the meaning system and the explanation system that has so much power in our culture right now. So I would say that's another thing another thing that happened in the first class that we taught is a lot of people got to wrestle with their ambivalent feelings about the power of science in our society. So I think we explicitly want to talk about that. How does science overlap with dynamics around sort of what are dominant cultures, genders, like how does all that play together? So if you have questions about that, that's a great place. So, I mean, I know it's kind of trade. The course is for everyone, but
yeah, right.
I would say the one prerequisite is an open mind and a willingness to look into oneself, and also to re-examine one's attitude about categories like science and like spirituality or religion, and sort of think about how those operate together. So really the curiosity, I'd say this class is for people with a lot of curiosity, and people who want to answer questions about how this powerful system of knowledge and inquiry sit in our society and in our souls.
Wow, that's amazing. You guys heard it here first. So come on in and get in this course, Science and Spirit. We want you in there. So when is this course happening?
It is, I think I've got the dates right. It's April 15th, 16th, and 17th. Do I have the dates right? Was it?
Yes, you do have the dates correct. So it's April 15th, 16th, and 17th. Thank you for that.
By the way, there will be guest teachers. I'm still lining up the different people, but a meditation teacher who is also trained as a computer scientist and researches AI will be one of the speakers there, and she just said yes. And so somebody who was trained as a medical doctor, but then really had a sort of a real shift in how he sort of perceived the world and the role of spirituality and inquiry in that world, that will also be a guest teacher. So anyway, there'll be lots of other people who will join in. I'm still looking for some other ones.
So you guys, if you are interested in signing up for the Science and Spirit course, go ahead and send an email to admissions@chaplaincyinstitute.org, or you can give us a call at 510-843-1422. Tom, I want to thank you so much for meeting with me today and getting the word about Science and Spirit to our students, our audience, our Chi community, to let them know about the amazing courses that we have going on here. We want to get the word out. So thank you so much for meeting with me today.
My pleasure.